First Contact and Misunderstanding. The Galactic Standard Year 3576 would forever be remembered as the year that changed everything. It was the year that the Zarquin exploration fleet, led by the renowned explorer Captain Ixorazenthos, first encountered the blue-green world known to its inhabitants as Earth. Captain Zenthos stood on the bridge of the Cosmic Seeker, her iridescent scales shimmering under the soft purple light of the command center. Her large, multifaceted eyes blinked in rapid succession as she processed the data streaming across the holographic displays. Fascinating, she chittered, her antennae twitching with excitement. A Class M planet, teeming with life. And look at the dominant species. Her second-in-command, Science Officer Vexlor, manipulated the controls to zoom in on the planet's surface. The images showed bipedal creatures moving about in structures and vehicles that seemed primitive by Zarquin standards. They appear to be carbon-based life forms, Captain Vexlor reported, his voice a low hum. But there's something odd about their biochemistry. It's unlike anything we've encountered before. Captain Zenthos leaned in closer, her compound eyes reflecting the holographic imagery. Elaborate, Science Officer. Vexlor's tendrils writhed in what the crew recognized as a sign of confusion. Their primary biological solvent appears to be dihydrogen monoxide. A collective gasp rippled through the bridge crew. Captain Zenthos's antennae stood rigid with shock. Impossible. That's one of the most corrosive and dangerous substances in the known galaxy. No complex life form could possibly evolve to use it as a primary solvent. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Further scans confirmed that these strange beings not only tolerated the presence of dihydrogen monoxide, but actually required it for survival. They ingested it, bathed in it, and it made up a significant percentage of their body mass. Captain, Communications Officer Zilra interjected, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with urgency. We're detecting numerous artificial satellites in orbit. Some appear to be primitive communication devices. Should we attempt contact? Captain Zenthos chittered thoughtfully, her foreclaws clicking together as she considered the implications. First contact was always a delicate matter, but this situation was unprecedented. A species that could weaponize one of the most dangerous substances in the universe simply by existing. The potential for disaster was enormous. And yet, the opportunity for scientific discovery was equally immense. The Zarquin prided themselves on their role as galactic explorers and diplomats. They had made peaceful first contact with dozens of species across the galaxy. Surely, they could handle this challenge as well. Prepare a first contact package, Captain Zenthos decided, but include strong warnings about the danger of their biological makeup. We must approach this with extreme caution. As the crew bustled to carry out her orders, Captain Zenthos turned her gaze back to the view screen, where the blue-green world slowly rotated. What mysteries did this planet hold? What wonders and what dangers awaited them? The next few cycles were a flurry of activity aboard the Cosmic Seeker. Linguists worked tirelessly to decipher the multitude of languages detected from the planet's communication satellites. Xenobiologists pored over the data collected from long-range scans, trying to make sense of the human's bizarre physiology. Meanwhile, the ship's engineers labored to create containment suits that would protect the crew from accidental exposure to the deadly dihydrogen monoxide. Finally, after much preparation and debate, the decision was made to send a small delegation to the surface. The landing site chosen was a large structure in a region the natives called New York, which seemed to serve as a gathering place for representatives from all over the planet. As the shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, Captain Zenthos felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. She had insisted on leading this mission herself, despite the protests of her crew. If something went wrong, she wanted to be there to handle it personally. The shuttle touched down in an open area near the large structure, which the humans called the United Nations. A crowd had already gathered, held back by barriers, and what appeared to be local security forces. Captain Zenthos took a deep breath, checking the seals on her containment suit one last time before activating the shuttle's exit ramp. As she emerged into the sunlight, a hush fell over the crowd. Humans of various shapes, sizes, and colors stared in awe at the alien visitors. Captain Zenthos raised all four of her arms in what she hoped would be interpreted as a universal gesture of peace. "Greetings, people of Earth," she said, her words translated and broadcasted through speakers on the shuttle. "I am Captain Ixera Zenthos of the Zarquin Exploration Fleet. We come in peace and with an open mind, seeking to learn and share knowledge." A human stepped forward from the crowd, a tall, dark-skinned male wearing what seemed to be formal attire. He smiled, showing a row of white teeth that made Captain Zenthos instinctively recoil. Among the Zarquin, baring one's mouthparts was a sign of aggression. "Welcome to Earth, Captain Zenthos," the human said, his voice warm and resonant. "I am Secretary General Adebayo Okafor of the United Nations. On behalf of all humanity, we extend our hand in friendship." As he spoke, the human extended one of his upper limbs towards her. Captain Zenthos hesitated, her cultural briefing mooring with her instincts. She knew this was likely a greeting gesture, but all she could think about was the dihydrogen monoxide coursing through the human's body, just beneath that thin layer of skin. Steeling herself, Captain Zenthos reached out and briefly touched her foreclaw to the human's hand. Marveling at the warmth she could feel even through her protective suit. "We are honored by your visit," Secretary General Okafor continued. "And we have so many questions, but first, might I ask, why the protective suits? Is our atmosphere harmful to you?" Captain Zenthos's antennae twitched nervously. This was the moment she had been dreading. How does one tell a species that their very existence is considered a biohazard? "Honored Secretary General," she began cautiously, "it is not your atmosphere that concerns us, but rather a substance that is prevalent on your world and in your bodies. A substance that, to most life in the galaxy, is incredibly dangerous." Confusion spread across the human's face. "What substance do you mean?" Captain Zenthos took another deep breath. "In our scientific terminology, it is called dihydrogen monoxide. I believe you call it water." The response was not what she expected. The Secretary General's eyes widened, and then, to her shock, he began to laugh. Soon, ripples of laughter spread through the crowd. "Water," Secretary General Okafor said, still chuckling. "You're afraid of water." Captain Zenthos felt her scales flush with embarrassment. Had they made some terrible mistake in their analysis? "I assure you, Secretary General, to most life forms in the galaxy, your water is a powerful solvent capable of breaking down organic molecules and corroding metals. The fact that you not only tolerate it, but require it is unprecedented." The laughter subsided, replaced by looks of wonder and curiosity. Secretary General Okafor's expression became serious once more. "I see," he said thoughtfully. "It seems we have much to learn from each other, Captain. Perhaps this misunderstanding is the first step towards a greater understanding between our peoples." As murmurs of excitement spread through the crowd, Captain Zenthos felt a glimmer of hope. Yes, these humans were strange and potentially dangerous, but they were also fascinating and clearly capable of reason and diplomacy. This first contact had not gone exactly as planned, but perhaps that was for the best. "Indeed, Secretary General," she replied, her antennae relaxing slightly. "It seems the galaxy is a far more diverse and wonderful place than even we imagined. We look forward to exploring those wonders together." And with those words, a new chapter in galactic history began. One that would challenge assumptions, bridge divides, and ultimately reshape the very fabric of interstellar society. The humans, with their water-based biology and endless capacity for adaptation, were about to make quite a splash in the cosmic community. The human ambassador. 6 standard months had passed since the historic first contact between humanity and the Zarquin. In that time, diplomatic relations had progressed at a dizzying pace. The galaxy, it seemed, was both fascinated and terrified by the water-drinking denizens of Earth. And now, in an unprecedented move, The Galactic Council had agreed to accept a human ambassador aboard one of their most prestigious diplomatic vessels. Dr. Samira Patel stood in the airlock of the Zarquin ship Harmonic Convergence, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. As Earth's first ambassador to the galactic community, she carried the hopes and dreams of her entire species on her shoulders. She was also acutely aware that her mere presence was causing no small amount of concern among the ship's crew. The airlock cycled, and as the inner doors slid open, Dr. Patel was greeted by the sight of Captain Ixarazenthos, now a familiar face thanks to numerous holographic conferences. The Zarquin captain's iridescent scales seemed to shimmer with anticipation. "Welcome aboard the Harmonic Convergence, Ambassador Patel," Captain Zenthos chittered, her translator converting the sounds into crisp English. "We are honored by your presence, though I must admit, accommodating your unique biology has presented some challenges." Samira smiled, hoping the expression wouldn't be misinterpreted as aggression this time. "The honor is mine, Captain. And please, call me Samira. I understand the difficulties, and I appreciate all the efforts you and your crew have made." As they moved through the ship's corridors, Samira couldn't help but marvel at the alien architecture. Curves and spirals dominated the design, with bioluminescent panels providing soft, ever-changing light. The air had a slight floral scent, reminiscent of jasmine but with an alien undertone. "We've prepared a special quarters for you," Captain Zenthos explained as they walked. "It's been equipped with a dedicated atmospheric control system to maintain your required humidity levels, and we've installed safety protocols to prevent any accidental discharge of water." Samira nodded appreciatively. "Thank you, Captain. I promise to be as careful as possible. The last thing I want is to cause any harm or discomfort to your crew." They passed several crew members in the hallways, each giving Samira a wide berth. Some looked on with undisguised curiosity, while others seemed to recoil in fear. Samira tried not to let it bother her. After all, to them, she was essentially a walking, talking bag of acid. As they reached her quarters, Captain Zenthos paused. "Ambassador, I must warn you. While we're honored to have you aboard, not everyone in the galactic community shares our openness. There are those who believe humans are too dangerous to be allowed free travel among the stars. Your actions here could have far-reaching consequences." Samira met the captain's multifaceted gaze steadily. "I understand, Captain. I promise to do my best to represent humanity with dignity and to prove that we can be valuable allies, not just potential threats." Over the next few weeks, Samira worked tirelessly to integrate herself into the ship's routine. She attended diplomatic briefings, offered insights into human culture and history, and even participated in some of the less physically demanding crew activities. Slowly but surely, the initial fear and apprehension began to give way to curiosity and even cautious friendship. One evening, as Samira was enjoying a meal in the ship's communal dining area, carefully eating her specially prepared human food, she overheard a conversation between two young Zarquin ensigns. "I still can't believe it," one chittered quietly. "Did you know the human can manipulate pure dihydrogen monoxide with her bare appendages? I saw her drinking it yesterday. It was terrifying and amazing." The other ensign's antennae twitched in agreement. "I know. And apparently, they use it for cleaning too. Can you imagine? It's like living with a biological weapon, but she's so friendly." Samira couldn't help but smile to herself. It was a strange feeling, being seen as both fascinating and frightening. But it was progress. Every positive interaction, every shared moment of understanding, was a step towards acceptance. However, not all interactions were so positive. During a routine maintenance check, a minor accident occurred that would have significant repercussions. Samira was observing the ship's engineering crew as they worked on the propulsion systems when a small leak sprung in her water bottle. A few drops of water splashed onto the deck, causing immediate panic. Alarms blared as the engineering crew scrambled to evacuate the area. Samira watched in horror as the droplets of water sizzled and smoked on the metallic floor, leaving small pockmarks in their wake. "I'm so sorry," she cried, quickly sealing the bottle and trying to help. But her attempts to assist only caused more panic. Chief Engineer Zolax, a usually stoic Zaraquin, was practically vibrating with distress. "Please, Ambassador, step back. Your secretions are highly corrosive to our ship's materials. We need to initiate decontamination protocols immediately." The incident, while minor, sent shockwaves through the ship. Samira found herself once again isolated, confined to her quarters while the crew debated the safety of having her on board. It was a harsh reminder of just how alien she was to them. Captain Zenthos visited her that evening, her expression unreadable. "Ambassador, I won't lie to you. This incident has caused considerable concern among the crew and our superiors. Some are calling for your immediate return to Earth." Samira felt her heart sink. Had all her efforts been for nothing? "Captain, it was an accident. Surely you can't believe I'd intentionally harm the ship or crew." "Of course not," Zenthos replied, her antennae drooping slightly. "But intention isn't the issue here. The reality is, your biology poses a genuine threat to our safety. The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session to discuss the future of human integration into galactic society." Samira sat heavily on her bed, the weight of the situation crushing down on her. "What can I do, Captain? There must be some way to prove that humans can coexist safely with other species." Captain Zenthos was quiet for a moment, her compound eyes reflecting the soft light of the room. Perhaps what we need is an opportunity. A chance for humans to demonstrate that their unique biology can be an asset rather than just a liability." As if on cue, the ship's communication system chimed urgently. Captain Zenthos answered, her antennae perking up as she listened to the message. When she turned back to Samira, there was a new light in her eyes. "Ambassador," she said, her voice tinged with both worry and hope, "it seems the universe has decided to test us all. We've just received a distress call from Silox Prime. Their primary water reclamation facility has suffered a catastrophic failure. The entire planet is at risk of ecological collapse within days." Samira stood, understanding dawning on her face. "And let me guess, no one on Silox Prime can safely handle water to fix the problem." Captain Zenthos nodded. "Exactly. Ambassador Patel. Samira, this could be the opportunity we've been waiting for. A chance for humanity to show the galaxy that your dangerous biology can be a force for good. But I warn you, it will be incredibly risky. Are you willing to take that chance?" Without hesitation, Samira straightened her back and met the captain's gaze. "Captain, on behalf of humanity, I accept this challenge. It's time to show the galaxy what we can do." As the harmonic convergence changed course for Silox Prime, Samira felt a mix of determination and trepidation. The fate of not just a planet, but potentially humanity's place in the galactic community, now rested on her shoulders. It was time for Earth's most abundant resource to make waves across the stars. Crisis on Silox Prime. The harmonic convergence dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a shimmer of distorted spacetime, revealing the rust-colored orb of Silox Prime. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful, but Ambassador Samira Patel knew that appearances could be deceiving. Captain Ixera Zenthos's voice crackled over the ship's communication system. "Ambassador, please report to the bridge immediately. We're receiving updated information on the situation." When Samira arrived, the bridge was a flurry of activity. Holographic displays showed various areas of the planet, focusing on a massive structure that she assumed was the water reclamation facility. "It's worse than we thought," Captain Zenthos chittered, her antennae twitching nervously. "The facility's main coolant system has ruptured. Dihydrogen monoxide is flooding the lower levels, and the Tyloxians can't get close enough to repair it. If the contamination spreads to their aquifers, it could trigger a planet-wide ecological disaster." Samira studied the schematics, her mind racing. "How long do we have?" "Less than 48 Earth hours," replied Science Officer Vexlor, his tendrils writhing in agitation. After that, the damage becomes irreversible. Samira took a deep breath. All right, I'll need a team. Not just engineers, but also any crew members trained in xenobiology and environmental sciences. And we'll need to replicate more protective gear. Suits that will allow me to work in water without risking contamination to others. Captain Xanthos nodded. Agreed. But Ambassador, you must understand the risk. If anything goes wrong, if there's even a minor breach in your suit. I know, Captain, Samira said firmly. But this is bigger than me. It's about showing the galaxy that humans can be part of the solution, not just a problem to be contained. As the ship descended into Psylocke Prime's atmosphere, Samira and her hastily assembled team prepared for the mission. The new protective suit felt bulky and restrictive, but she knew it was necessary, not just for the Psylockean safety, but to reassure her alien colleagues. The landing zone was a chaos of activity. Psylockean emergency responders, their insectoid bodies glistening under the planet's twin suns, scrambled to and fro. Many stopped to stare as Samira emerged from the shuttle, no doubt having heard rumors of the water-bearing alien who had come to assist. A tall, spindly Psylockean approached, its mandibles clicking rapidly. Welcome, off-worlders. I am Chief Engineer Zilksax. We are grateful for your assistance, though I must admit, we have reservations about your methods. Samira nodded respectfully. I understand, Chief Engineer. I assure you, we'll take every precaution. Now, please, show us to the facility. As they approached the massive water reclamation complex, the scale of the disaster became apparent. Alarms blared, and emergency force fields crackled, struggling to contain the spreading contamination. Samira could see the fear in the eyes of the Psylockean workers. To them, she was about to walk into a death trap of corrosive poison. The main rupture is 3 levels down, Zilksax explained, pointing to a holographic schematic. Our repair drones short-circuit as soon as they get close to the dihydrogen monoxide. We've tried to seal it remotely, but you need someone who can physically interact with the water. Samira finished. She turned to her team. All right, let's move. Every second counts. As Samira descended into the facility, she couldn't help but marvel at the irony. The substance that made up over 60% of her body, that she needed to survive, was a terrifying poison to the beings around her. Yet here she was, using that very substance to save them. The lower levels of the facility were a nightmare of twisted metal and sparking electronics. Water, or rather, dihydrogen monoxide, as the aliens insisted on calling it, sprayed from ruptured pipes and pooled on the floor. Samira waded in, the liquid reaching her waist. Ambassador, be careful. Vexlor's voice crackled through her comm. Our sensors indicate the dihydrogen monoxide levels are approaching critical saturation. Samira pushed forward, her hands working quickly to seal ruptures and reroute systems. It was painstaking work, made more difficult by the cumbersome protective suit. Sweat beaded on her brow as she raced against time. Hours passed in a blur of emergency repairs and tense moments. Samira's team worked tirelessly, guiding her through the complex systems of the alien facility. More than once, she had to reassure panicked Psylockean technicians that yes, she was fine, and no, the water wasn't dissolving her. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Samira sealed the last major rupture. She leaned against a wall, exhausted but triumphant. Control room, this is Ambassador Patel. I think we did it. A cheer erupted over the comm system, a strange mix of human voices and alien chittering. As Samira made her way back to the surface, she was met with a sight she never expected. A crowd of Psylockeans, tentatively approaching her with a mix of fear and awe in their compound eyes. Chief Engineer Zilksax stepped forward, mandibles quivering with emotion. Ambassador Patel, we don't know how to thank you. You've saved not just this facility, but potentially our entire civilization. Captain Xanthos, who had been coordinating from the surface, added, Samura, you've done more than that. Early reports are already spreading throughout the Galactic Council. You've shown everyone that human biology, while different, can be an incredible asset. As the reality of what she'd accomplished sank in, Samara felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This was more than just a rescue mission. It was a turning point. For humanity, for the galaxy, and for the future of interspecies cooperation. In the days that followed, as the harmonic convergence prepared to return to Earth, the mood aboard the ship had shifted dramatically. Where once there had been fear and suspicion, now there was curiosity and respect. Crew members who had once given Samira a wide berth now approached her with questions about Earth and human culture. During her final meal in the ship's dining area, Samira overheard another conversation between crew members, but this time, the tone was very different. "Can you believe it?" an ensign was saying excitedly. The human walked through dihydrogen monoxide like it was nothing. And instead of causing destruction, she used it to save an entire planet. "I heard," another replied, "that the Galactic Council is considering fast-tracking humanity's application for full member status. They're saying that having a species that can safely handle dihydrogen monoxide could revolutionize countless industries across the galaxy." Samara couldn't help but smile. It seemed that humanity's dangerous biology might just be their ticket to the stars. As the harmonic convergence prepared to drop her off at the newly established Earth Embassy on a nearby space station, Captain Zenthos approached Samira one last time. "Ambassador," she said, her antennae wiggling in what Samira had come to recognize as a sign of respect. "When we first met, I saw humans as a potential threat to galactic stability. I now see that I was wrong. Your actions have opened many eyes, including my own." Samira nodded, touched by the captain's words. "Thank you, Captain. I hope this is just the beginning of a long and fruitful relationship between humanity and the galactic community." As she watched the harmonic convergence depart from the space station's observation deck, Samira reflected on the journey that had brought her here. From being seen as walking biohazards to potential saviors of worlds, it had been quite the roller coaster. The galaxy, it seemed, was not just stranger than they had imagined, but stranger than they could have imagined. And humanity, with its water-based biology and adaptable nature, was perfectly poised to dive into that strangeness headfirst. As she turned to enter the Earth Embassy, ready to compose her report on the Silox Prime incident, Samira couldn't help but chuckle. Who would have thought that the most abundant substance on Earth would turn out to be the galaxy's most precious resource? The adventures, she was sure, were only just beginning. The Galactic Council debate. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was a sight to behold. Situated on a massive space station at the heart of the Milky Way, it was a testament to the cooperative achievements of 1,000 species. Crystalline structures spiraled towards a transparent dome that offered a breathtaking view of the galactic core. Representatives from every corner of known space filled the chamber, their diverse forms a living mosaic of galactic life. And at the center of it all, looking simultaneously awed and determined, stood Ambassador Samira Patel, the first human to ever set foot in these hallowed halls. "Order. Order in the chamber." The booming voice of High Counselor Zix Lothar, a gaseous being contained within an ornate hoversuit, echoed through the room. "We are gathered here today to discuss a matter of utmost importance, the potential admission of the species known as humans into the Galactic Alliance." A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Samira could feel the weight of 1,000 alien gazes upon her. "The floor recognizes Ambassador Krithx of the Arachnid Confederation," Zix Lothar announced. A massive, spider-like being scuttled forward, its 8 eyes glowing with bioluminescence. "Esteemed colleagues," it began, mandibles clicking, "while we acknowledge the heroic actions of the human ambassador on Silox Prime, we cannot ignore the inherent danger their biology poses. Their dependency on dihydrogen monoxide makes them a walking ecological disaster waiting to happen." Shouts of agreement mingled with hisses of disapproval. Samira clenched her fists, fighting the urge to defend herself. The chair recognizes Ambassador Quilluxar of the sentient forests of Arborea, Zixlother intoned. A being that looked like a sentient tree stepped forward, its leaves rustling softly. Friends, let us not be hasty in our judgment. The humans have shown great potential. Their ability to manipulate dihydrogen monoxide safely could revolutionize terraforming efforts across the galaxy. Think of the barren worlds we could bring to life. The debate raged on, with passionate arguments on both sides. Some saw humans as a valuable addition to the galactic community, while others viewed them as an unacceptable risk. Samira listened intently, making mental notes for her eventual address to the council. As the arguments began to circle back on themselves, High Counselor Zixlother's voice cut through the clamor. We will now hear from the human representative. Ambassador Patel, you have the floor. Samira took a deep breath and stepped forward. This was the moment she had prepared for, the culmination of months of diplomatic efforts. She looked out at the sea of alien faces, some curious, some hostile, all waiting to hear what she had to say. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I stand before you not just as a representative of Earth, but as a symbol of the diversity that makes our galaxy great. Yes, humans are different. Our biology is unique, even dangerous from your perspective. But I ask you, isn't that true of many species represented here? She gestured around the room. The methane brothers of Epsilon Eridani would find the oxygen atmospheres of most worlds toxic. The silicon-based life forms of Altair IV would dissolve in the acidic environments that the Vorax thrive in. Yet here we all are, working together despite our differences. Murmurs of consideration rippled through the chamber. Samira pressed on, gaining confidence. Humanity's relationship with water, with dihydrogen monoxide, is not a liability, but an opportunity. We've already seen how it can be used to solve problems that other species cannot. But more than that, our adaptability, our drive to explore and understand, makes us ideal candidates for the Galactic Alliance. She was building to her conclusion when suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Panic erupted as delegates scrambled for information. High Counselor Zixlother's voice boomed over the chaos. Remain calm. We are receiving an emergency transmission from the Outer Rim. Putting it on screen now. The holographic display at the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing a scene of devastation. A massive space station was breaking apart, fires visible even from the external view. This is Administrator Vox of Deep Space Outpost Sigma 9, a frantic voice called out. We've suffered a catastrophic coolant system failure. Our primary and backup systems are offline. We have less than an hour before total structural collapse. There are over 10,000 civilians on board. Please, we need immediate assistance. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices. Samira's mind raced, quickly piecing together the implications. A coolant system failure. That meant. She stepped forward, her voice cutting through the noise. High Counselor, I believe humanity can help. All eyes turned to her. Zixlother's hoversuit drifted closer. Explain, Ambassador. The coolant used in most deep space facilities is a form of liquid nitrogen, correct? Harmless to most species represented here, but incredibly dangerous to humans due to its extreme cold. However, we have extensive experience in handling such materials safely. She took a deep breath. Give me access to a fast ship and a team of human engineers. We can repair the coolant systems and save those people. A hush fell over the chamber. High Counselor Zixlother's hoversuit hummed as he processed the offer. You understand the risk, Ambassador. If you fail, it could doom not only those on the station, but any hope of humanity joining the Alliance. Samira nodded solemnly. I understand. But this is who we are. This is what humanity can offer to the galaxy. The willingness to risk everything to save lives, no matter the species. For a moment, the only sound in the chamber was the continuing alarm from the distress call. Then, Zixlother spoke. Very well, Ambassador Patel. You have 1 hour to assemble your team and depart. May the stars guide you. As Samira rushed out of the chamber, she could hear the debate reigniting behind her. But now, there was a new tone to the arguments, one of cautious hope and growing respect. The next hour was a blur of activity. A team of human engineers, on standby for just such an emergency, was quickly assembled. As they boarded the sleek rescue vessel provided by the Council, Samira couldn't help but marvel at the turn of events. Once again, humanity's dangerous nature was being put to the test. As the ship accelerated to faster-than-light speeds, Samira addressed her team. I won't lie to you. This mission is incredibly dangerous. But what we do here today could change the course of human history. Are you ready? The determined faces of her fellow humans looked back at her. One of the engineers, a grizzled veteran named Chen, spoke up. Ambassador, with all due respect, you don't need to give us a pep talk. We're human. Diving headfirst into danger to save others is what we do best. Samira couldn't help but smile. As the ship hurtled towards Outpost Sigma 9, she realized that this mission was more than just a rescue operation. It was humanity's chance to show the galaxy who they truly were, not just beings of water and strange biology, but creatures of compassion, ingenuity, and unwavering courage. The fate of 10,000 lives hung in the balance. And beyond that, the future of humanity's place in the stars. As the outpost came into view, its structure visibly breaking apart, Samira steeled herself for the challenge ahead. It was time to show the galaxy what humans were truly made of. A new era of cooperation. The human rescue ship dropped out of FTL speed with a flash of Cherenkov radiation, the massive form of Deep Space Outpost Sigma 9 looming before them. The station was a terrifying sight. Huge sections of its outer hull were buckling, venting atmosphere into the void. Electrical fires sparked across its surface, and the usually bustling docking bays were ominously still. Gods of the void, breathed Chen, the chief engineer. It's worse than we thought. Samira's voice was steady as she addressed the team. We knew this wouldn't be easy. Remember your training. We're humanity's best hope. And right now, we're the best hope for everyone on that station. As they maneuvered towards the emergency docking port, a transmission crackled through their comms. Unidentified vessel. This is Administrator Vox. Please tell me you're the help the Council promised. Administrator, this is Ambassador Samira Patel of Earth. We're here to help. Can you give us a status update? The relief in Vox's voice was palpable. Ambassador, bless the stars. We've managed to seal off the worst of the coolant leaks, but our primary systems are still offline. We have maybe 20 minutes before total structural failure. Understood. We're docking now. Have your people ready to assist, but warn them, we'll be handling substances that are extremely dangerous to most species. They need to keep their distance. As the airlock cycled, Samira and her team donned their specialized cold-resistant suits. They looked almost comical, bulky white figures that waddled more than walked. But Samira knew that these suits were the only thing that would allow them to handle the liquid nitrogen coolant safely. The scene that greeted them as they entered the station was one of barely controlled chaos. Alien crew members rushed back and forth, trying to maintain order among the panicked civilians. The air was thick with the acrid smell of electrical fires, and the station's superstructure groaned ominously around them. Samira's team moved with practiced efficiency, following the schematics they had studied during their journey. They reached the main coolant control room in minutes, only to find it sealed off by emergency force fields. The coolant leak is in there, an insectoid alien engineer chittered nervously. But the temperatures, no one can survive in there. Chen stepped forward, his voice muffled by his suit. We can. Stand back and let us work. As the force fields dropped, a blast of supercooled air rushed out. The alien crew members recoiled, their bodies not designed to handle such extreme cold. But for the humans, protected by their suits, it was just another day at the office. The next 15 minutes were a blur of frantic activity. Samira and her team worked in perfect synchronization, their hands moving deftly despite the bulky gloves. They rerouted power, sealed leaks, and slowly but surely brought the coolant systems back online. Primary coolant flow restored. Chen called out triumphantly, secondary systems coming online. Now, a cheer went up from the alien crew members watching from a safe distance. Samira allowed herself a small smile behind her faceplate. They had done it. But their victory was short-lived. Just as they were about to exit the coolant room, a violent shudder ran through the station. Alarms blared anew. Ambassador. Administrator Vox's panicked voice came through the comms. A support strut has failed. We're losing structural integrity in sections 15 through 20. There are hundreds of civilians trapped there. Samira's mind raced. The failing sections were too far for a normal evacuation. But maybe. Administrator, do you have any maintenance suits rated for extreme cold? There was a pause. Yes, but they're not rated for sapient use. They're for robotic drones only. They'll have to do. Have your people bring every suit they can find to the central promenade. We're going to need volunteers. What followed was perhaps the most unorthodox rescue operation in galactic history. Human volunteers, protected by their cold-resistant suits, donned the alien maintenance suits over top. It was awkward and unwieldy, but it allowed them to carry alien civilians through the super-cooled sections of the station to safety. For 3 grueling hours, the humans worked tirelessly. They braved extreme cold, structural collapses, and the ever-present risk of suit breaches. But slowly, steadily, they evacuated every last civilian from the failing sections of the station. As the last group of survivors was brought to safety, Samira finally allowed herself to relax. They had done it. Against all odds, they had saved the station and everyone on it. The aftermath of the crisis was a whirlwind of activity. As emergency crews from across the sector arrived to assist with repairs, Samira found herself inundated with messages of thanks and congratulations. But more importantly, she noticed a shift in how the aliens were looking at her and her team. Where once there had been fear and suspicion, now there was awe and respect. The humans' ability to withstand extreme cold, an environment lethal to most galactic species, had turned from a liability into an asset overnight. Days later, as Samira stood once again before the Galactic Council, the atmosphere couldn't have been more different from her previous appearance. High Counselor Zixlothar's voice rang out across the chamber. Ambassador Patel, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest gratitude. Your actions, and those of your fellow humans, have saved countless lives and opened our eyes to the true potential of your species. A murmur of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. Therefore, Zixlothar continued, it is my great pleasure to announce that the motion to admit humanity into the Galactic Alliance has passed unanimously. Welcome, friends from Earth, to the galactic community. The chamber erupted in cheers and applause. Samira felt a wave of emotion wash over her. This was more than just a diplomatic victory. It was the dawn of a new era for humanity. In the months and years that followed, the integration of humans into galactic society brought about a renaissance of technological and cultural exchange. Human expertise in handling extreme environments led to breakthroughs in space station design and planetary terraforming. Meanwhile, alien technologies allowed humanity to make great strides in clean energy production and medical treatments. The once feared water bearers became sought-after partners in scientific endeavors across the galaxy. But perhaps the greatest change was in perspective. The story of humanity's rise from feared outsiders to valued allies became a parable of diversity and cooperation. Species that had once viewed their biological differences as insurmountable barriers now saw them as unique strengths to be celebrated. Years later, as Samira stood on the observation deck of humanity's first extrasolar colony, watching alien and human children play together under an alien sun, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The galaxy, she realized, was not just stranger than they had imagined. It was more wonderful And humanity, with its adaptability, its courage, and yes, its dangerous water-based biology, had found its place among the stars. As she turned to greet a delegation of alien diplomats, eager to discuss the next joint venture between their peoples, Samira couldn't help but smile. The most abundant substance on Earth, once seen as a deadly poison, had turned out to be the key that unlocked the galaxy. The adventure, she knew, was only just beginning.